You ever notice how sunlight looks different when you finally stop apologizing for needing it? I swear, I didn't used to see it, didn't even know what to call that feeling, until the day I sat at the patio of Bright Day Cafe, waiting for my family to show up and watching that light spill across the table like it was daring me to claim a piece for myself. I picked the sunniest spot, too, as if that would change anything. 10 years of bailing them out had taught me. Rehearsing what I'd say never rewrote the ending, just made me late for my own life. They showed up as a unit, my parents. Harold and Bernice, my sister Tasha, nobody smiling, just the scraping of chairs and that tension you could taste in the back of your throat. No time for pleasantries. Dad didn't waste a breath. Dana, you won't be joining us for Christmas this year. Mom, clearing her throat like she was prepping for a eulogy, chimed in. Quentin wants the holiday, just with the core family. That phrase, core family, landed like an elbow straight to the ribs. I was the core, wasn't I? I was the one who floated mortgages, paid off surprise bills, made sure the lights even worked. But there was Tasha, scrolling her phone, looking pleased, saying, "It's Nova's first Christmas. She won't remember who's there." And just like that, I felt something inside me close up, like a window slammed against the cold. I left a 20 on the table for their coffee, stood up, tucked my hair behind my ear, one of those gestures that tries to say more than words, and I walked out. Into the sun, back in my apartment. That same sunlight poured across my desk, turning everything gold and sharp, and I started a spreadsheet, 10 years of transfers. Line by line, I logged every dollar that left my account for their emergencies, their upgrades, their little oops we did it agains. The number at the bottom, $468,300, looked unreal. I called Alicia Porter, my attorney. "I'm done," I told her. "Today, I want a legal firewall between me and them." I sat in her office, watching the city shine through her window, and slid a stack of receipts across her desk. She looked at me, real steady, and said, "What do you want, Dana? Not what's polite, what's true." So I said it. Cancel all payments, revoke all authorizations, send any family calls to her. And I was selling my lake house. The look she gave me was daylight, clear, honest, warm. "Let's do it now," she said. By late afternoon, she'd filed notices and revoked authorizations. And it was like watching the wall go up on my own property line for the first time. Took less than 48 hours for the first attempt to breach it. My parents' banker, Sterling, calling to say there'd been a hiccup with their mortgage transfer. He started in syrupy, slid into gravel when I stood firm. "Families don't turn off the faucet, young lady." I told him I'd thought about my own stress for 10 years and was finally lowering it. He didn't like that, but the sun was on my face and my hands didn't shake. A week opened up in front of me with no frantic texts. No, just this once. I cleaned my home office, found an old folder labeled goals, a certification I'd shelved, a photography workshop I'd bookmarked, trips I'd never taken because someone else always needed saving. I tried a daytime wine flight at a garden patio, chatted with the server about soil and sunshine, and watched my savings balance edge up, slow but steady. That Friday, a coworker, Amara, waved me over in the lobby. "We're renting a mountain cabin next weekend. You in?" Olmi would have said no. Knew me, the one with boundaries, nodded. "Yes, count me in." Driving out to Blue Finch Lake, my A-frame tucked under the pines, I saw my neighbor Kiana on her porch, sun hat tipped back. "Thought your folks were coming to hang lights for the holiday," she called. Plans changed. I ended up on her porch, spilling the whole decade out in the afternoon light. She listened like good people do, with her face, not just her ears. "They love the fruit. Forget the roots," she told me. "Don't let them poison your soil." That landed. I stared out at the water, my house, and realized it was less a refuge, more a magnet for other people's entitlement. I called Jada, a real estate broker who moves mountains, and said, "Showings only in the daytime. Fastest close you can manage." "Done," she said, and I believed her. Monday came, and so did voicemails from my mom. First worried, then sharp, then manipulative. Never once, "How are you?" Dad called that evening, snapping about Christmas and family duties. Tasha texted, upset that her suppliers were calling her now. I told them all, "My money isn't your safety net." Silence. The kind that lets you hear the cicadas. That night, I dug up an old email thread on my backup drive, Quentin suggesting, years back, that maybe my presence should be limited at family events so the core could recalibrate. My exile had always been written in their corporate tone. So I told Jada to accept the cash offer, soonest closing the law allowed. I slept with the blinds open, moon on my face like a benediction. By the end of that week, Alicia had the sale marching toward the finish line. I kept reminding myself, I am not the family faucet. I am the well. I choose who drinks. And I started building a life that wasn't just a fire alarm for other people's messes. Amara slid me a flyer for a weekend photography intensive taught by Malik Jordan, award-winning, honest, the kind who can coax truth out of a face. I signed up. Malik walked us through light and composition, told me, you already see something new. Keep it steady. I shot a portrait that made a stranger's laugh look like sunrise, and for once, someone told me I had an eye people would pay. 4. Monday found me on the bookstore patio at Riverbend, talking shop with Joyce, the owner, and a startup advisor named Caleb. We could use your brain, paid, he said, offering a card. And just like that, my mind was valued, not just my willingness to rescue. I split my days, day job in the glass tower, afternoons rebuilding Caleb's startup, golden hour practice shoots around town. Boundaries, it turns out, are solar-powered. Jada called, multiple offers, cash buyer, 10-day close. I said yes. On the day of the close, I met Jada at the title office, keys in hand, and watched my old property become just a lesson, not an anchor. My mom called in tears, my dad called angry, Tasha called bitter. I listened, standing in the open where the sun could see me, and told them, pain is what happens when a pattern ends. I brought boundaries to lunch. No one liked it, but I didn't budge. That night, on my balcony, I made a list, what I keep. My money until I decide, my time until I share, my peace on purpose. I taped it to the window for the sun to bless every morning. Weeks went by, Caleb's startup flourished, Malik's class kept me grounded, and even Joyce started sending referrals my way. I became head of risk and strategy for the startup, with equity, not just a paycheck. My legacy was finally my own. A year later, the city's light belonged to me. I met friends for lunch, shot portraits for small businesses, and ignored my mother's handwritten letter until I could shred it in full view of the daylight. My family still tried. Phone calls, guilt, invitations to holiday events, but I stood my ground every time. If they wanted a seat at my table, they'd have to come with respect, not a receipt. And if you're listening, feeling your chest tight or your eyes stinging, you're not alone. Maybe it's time to stop being the endless faucet and start being the well. Choose who drinks. Choose what you keep. Let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what part of this story hit you hardest? Subscribe, share, drop a keep going if you felt even a little seen. That's the daylight I live for now. See you in the next one.